I'm David with EV World News. We talk about a lot of electric vehicles, green energy, and the stock markets, and we get off topic a lot too. But I'm back with our founder and chief editor, Bill Moore. How's it going, Bill?
Hey, it's going fine, thank you.
I had some compliments about our intro, how, we have the professional intro that you made like 20 years ago.
Oh, ages ago, my God,
yeah.
yes.
And then, on top of my spiel, and it's like, I've got to copy that, but anyways.
I was just thinking as that was running, I said, boy, we really need to update that thing.
Yeah, well,
it's pretty amateurish.
we have some other versions, but I don't know that I like them as much.
Yeah.
So it's fun watching the Teslas race.
One of the things that I like about it is it's fairly quick and it tells a quick story and it doesn't drag on, lets us get on with the business at hand. And some of these other programs that I watch, their intros just go on and on and on. Just get to it. My time is precious. I don't want to look at your super duper animated, intro that maybe tells me what you're about, or maybe it doesn't. So
I think it does a good job. Does a good job. All right, let's start out with our first story. And this is something I guess should have been expected, but EV sales plunge after the tax credit ends. They're calling it the October hangover. So EV sales collapsed in October after the federal $7,500 tax credit expired, validating expert predictions. Wow, I don't know if you
wow,
the free $7,500.
Yeah, you suddenly tell people now I'm not going to give you the $7,500, but you feel free to buy this car at the full, MSRP on the sticker or whatever. Yeah.
Now, one of the big things that's going to reduce depreciation. Remember how I've said how when they calculate the depreciation on the car, that 7,500 is part of the depreciation. Yep. So, anyways, it's going to stop some of that. But EVs have been at a 12% market share before that, and they dropped to 5%.
Yeah.
And this is just for the United States. This didn't affect the rest of the world.
No, it's just here. And we're lagging so far behind the rest of the world, it's not funny. So,
yeah, but the dramatic drop highlights how policy incentives directly drive consumer behavior in the EV market. But a lot of the manufacturers are trying to come up with ways to be creative to help people, buy more.
Yeah.
But we've already seen GM make some adjustments and things like that. Yeah, it's tough. I don't think it's really fair to the U.S. automakers.
Yeah, I just saw a headline. Who was it that said the administration's policies are making the American automobile a backwater industry now?
Well, we'll have to see how that plays out.
Yep.
People are still buying full-size pickup trucks. That doesn't seem to stop.
And speaking of trucks, there's a story. Again, I just posted today of the numbers of trucks that BYD has. It's phenomenal. They've got 7 types of, cargo vans and 4 types of some others, and that, they're buses. Then I think about poor GM. They started the Bright Drop program, didn't go anywhere. They dropped it. They're maybe talking about a partnership with Hyundai to do something. And you look in that story about BYD, you look at all those models that they have on display. It's like, are we? Is General Motors and Ford Motor Company, what's Ford got? Ford's got a van and they've got the pickup. And I understand
they still have the Mach-E.
Well, no, I'm talking about trucks.
In the commercial?
In the commercial space, right? And we've got nothing, and you see this lineup that BYD has. It's phenomenal. It's just and it's sad, and it's we should be leading, and we're not. It's sad, but it's what we're at.
Yeah, well, the United States is every 4 to 8 years, we change our policies. We decided to go a different direction.
That's really great for planning, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's really funny too, because all of our politicians run on how they're going to change the government, right? It's a recurring.
Well, he's
You know,
certainly done that, hasn't he?
yeah. All you need to do to understand it is watch the Hope and Change episode of South Park,
Yeah.
and it really explains politics a whole lot
Oh,
better.
oh, by the way, we should tell people, for our listeners who are not here in the United States, that today is November 4th, and it is Election Day. And there's some fairly said, while it's not a large congressional kind of presidential election, that doesn't the midterms don't happen until next year, and then 2 years after that will be the president, and we get to throw the bumps out. But right now, we've got some fairly significant elections taking place. New York City, with what's his
Mom
name,
Donnie,
Mondami, and
Chris Cuomo.
Cuomo, and this other Republican who's not getting any traction whatsoever. It seems to be the battle between Cuomo and
If
Mondami.
that guy, the
But
Republican
Virginia
guy is
has
just weird.
major things happening. Am I offline again?
No, I hear you just fine. Yeah. So Bill's talking about the New York City mayoral.
As soon as I
election
start to
and,
talk. Okay, what's going on?
Just to exit and come back, Bill.
Stupid.
Yeah. Anyways,
All right, let's try that.
Bill assumes we can't.
Sorry,
hear
everybody,
him.
if you can hear me.
Can.
Nope. Got to ring off. Bye.
Yeah, but anyways, we've got elections all over the country going on. The Virginia Commonwealth, they reelect their state house every year, and so you have to run for reelection every year. So that's going on. Most states do that every 2 years or every 4 years, depending on what the position is. But all right, here he comes. Maybe. Can you hear me, Bill? He's got to figure out what it is, if it's headset. He's trying to talk to me, but do you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. All right, so you're back then.
Okay.
Yeah, I was explaining also in the Virginia Commonwealth, they reelect everybody every year to their state house, and they have 100 districts, and they're all out running and trying to get reelected today. That one's kind of a zoo, because I don't know how you keep track of like your local delegates, and I just can't imagine as a citizen just going to vote for my local delegate. I just can't imagine that the turnout can be that great. And I mean, and that really determines those elections.
Yeah.
At least in the midterms, we get to vote on maybe a senator, maybe like two-thirds of the time we do.
Right.
And we get to vote on a congressman, or one congressperson, and maybe a mayor or something like that. Our mayors are for 4 years though, aren't they?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's really just Congress here, and occasionally a senator, in the midterms. But it's sometimes hard to get the motivation. I always go vote in the midterms, but still, and one of the reasons I always make sure to vote in the midterms, because the lines are short. So it's not like when you go for the presidential elections, you got a good chance you might catch it at the wrong time, be standing in line for 30 minutes.
Well, I'm a election worker, so I have been for the midterm in 2022, and then the presidential in 24. I've signed up to do the midterm next year, and of course, then that I have to be then for the presidential. So yeah, it's an interesting. I enjoy it. It's a very, very long day.
Yeah,
from before 7 in the morning until after 9 at night.
And if you're a citizen, it is your duty to vote. Doesn't mean you'll go do it, but if you don't have a right to bitch about the outcome.
You don't have a right to bitch.
Yep. I don't care who you go vote for.
Fool around and find out.
We live in a free country, and you need to go exercise those rights that people have died for.
Absolutely. If you want to keep those rights, you have to participate. Democracy is, as I think Tom Hartman often says, is not a spectator sport.
No. Anyways, we'll get back onto the topic of,
Okay.
like I said, we've already gone off on our first tangent, right? But anyways, all right, we've discussed the EV slowdown. So there's more discussion on the Elon Musk $1 trillion pay package. That's supposed to be coming up for vote in 2 days.
Yep.
And the Norwegian Sovereign Wealth Fund is announced it's going to vote against it.
No.
That's a pretty big vote against.
That's a pretty big voting block. Yeah.
Yeah. Musk personally controls about 10%. But that doesn't carry it. That's probably, I don't know how much Norway owns, but it's probably less than what Musk owns.
Yeah.
But
wouldn't surprise me.
The vote impacts control of Tesla and raises questions about CEO compensation, accountability, and shareholder rights. But once again, it's only $1 trillion if the company goes from 1.6 trillion to 10 trillion. So.
Oh, is that all?
Yeah. Well, and in just the last week, NVIDIA became the first $5 trillion company. Just in the last few days, it just happened.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyways, all right. Tesla sales continue to decline in Europe. They had resumed a decline in October after a brief stabilization. Growing competition from Chinese EV makers and European brands is eroding Tesla's market share. Tesla now ranks 7th in China. Wow, that's a big drop.
Yeah.
Yeah, the world's largest EV market, signaling significant challenges. I mean, Musk always says that China is the big leagues of auto manufacturing.
Yeah.
And that's
and before he went over there, I would have never thought of it in those terms. It's just how did they become that? And of course, then you see there's 120 different EV manufacturers in China, and Stella Lee, who is the executive vice president at BYD, said that there's going to be a major consolidation. And of course, obviously, she's hoping that BYD will be there. It's amazing to have seen the transformation that has taken place there in the last 20 years.
All right, let's talk a little bit about Rivian and Lucid stocks. Rivian stock is up 2% year to date, which isn't a big change.
No.
Lucid's down 40%. Clear divergence in market confidence. Lucid continues bleeding cash with $1.5 billion in operational losses in the first half of 25. Well, at one point it was losing $300,000 for every car it sold. That was a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's gone down a lot as they've reduced the bleeding, and at the same time they're selling more vehicles.
All right.
But I think I don't know. I think Lucid's going to pull through. There's a lot of reasons we've discussed: the Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund.
Right. And they did this deal with Uber now, and a company that's supplying them with autonomous driving technology. So that could help them out.
Yep. And the article goes on to say Rivian positioned for 26 growth with new models and improved margins. Analysts see potential catalysts ahead. Well, same thing for Lucid. Lucid's got the Gravity out now.
Right.
They're getting sales. It's a matter of getting those delivered, right? Rivian, in my opinion, is a little farther down the road than Lucid.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, they've got 2 models and they're
plus the van.
Right. And and the van, which is a big one. And then they've got the R2 coming on. Apparently, they're talking now. There's some rumors about a pickup version of the R2. So it would be R2S and then maybe now an R2T. So, and then there's a third model, and there's even speculation of other models beyond that. So, yeah, I think they've got a good roadmap ahead of them.
The R2T2.
Yeah, R2T2. There's a little dome thing behind you that assists.
Just have something that's pivoting.
Here's what we need to do. Let's go into the aftermarket business and make a little dome-shaped R2D2 attachment that goes behind the car, and maybe embedded in that is some LiDAR and some other stuff, right?
Well, I mean, R2 had his camera on the front, rotated on his head turret. So,
right.
You could have that going. Yeah. Yeah,
That's not, hey, don't anybody steal that idea. I want to
yeah, there you go.
copyright it.
Yeah, it seems like it's probably more likely to go on the
I'd have problems
all
with Disney and Pixar, I think.
on the slate. The slate's
Yeah.
probably more likely to have that as one of their thousands of endless
Yeah.
options.
Yeah. Modifications. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. All right. More news. We talked previously about the $80 billion U.S. reactor deal with Cameco and Brookfield and the U.S. government and Westinghouse. But
Which,
Constellation Energy is proposing 5.8 gigawatts of new power generation for Maryland to meet rising demand. That's and I assume that the article didn't specifically say that's nuclear, but I assume that probably is.
yeah.
Nuclear position as critical clean baseload power for grid stability and AI data center energy needs. It does seem that most of the talk about nuclear, well, at least to date, is going to the hyperscaler AI companies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
and
there's an article that that came out that's talking about basically the tiering of the power system where you have, if you're nuclear, you're going, that's really restricted for the wealthy and the upper tier of society, and then the lower thing. So if you want, there's an article on the website that I put up today that looks at that and analyzes. It's not bad approach or to raise that issue, I think. And then also the Chinese have successfully tested a thorium reactor.
nice, nice.
Yeah. Now, do you
One
know
of the
what that? Do you
things
know what that? It doesn't generate power, though.
generates heat.
No, it doesn't generate heat. What it does is it converts thorium to uranium 23. And that uranium then can be used in nuclear reactors to generate electric power. So it's just
Oh,
there
okay.
basically to take thorium, which apparently China has, as always it seems, an abundance of thorium resources, and they're built this thing out in the middle of God nowhere. I mean, you look at the photographs of that plant, and all these guys are standing hundreds of yards away from it with measurement instruments, testing it was successful. Apparently, it was successful. They didn't have their dogs turn blue, like apparently is happening at Chernobyl.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, the wild dogs around Chernobyl are turning blue.
Well, you mentioned the thing about how somebody was talking about how nuclear is for the rich or whatever. But
Uh-huh.
think about this. So without energy, you're in the Stone Ages. Okay.
If you're
So
lucky and figure out how to make fire with it.
right, right. But even
Yeah.
fire is energy, right?
Oh yeah.
You're using sticks as energy for the fire and or fuel, I should say. But you think about this. This is one of the big things I talk about with nuclear is it's a potential end to energy poverty, and as you put energy into and this is also one of the reasons why I'm like, I don't think it's fair for us to tell people that have never had electricity that they can't use coal because that's cheating somehow, and we've used it for 100 years.
Oh, longer
Right.
than that. Yeah,
Yeah.
much longer than that.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. It's like,
Yeah.
in my opinion, we don't really need coal in the United States anymore. People can hate me for that or whatever, but anything is a better solution than coal, at least as far as the environment, right? Even LNG is a better solution than coal. Okay.
Modestly so, yes, but still,
Yes,
yeah.
I agree. It's still not
It's not.
ideal.
It's not leaving behind huge piles of toxic residue.
Right. And I'm just saying, though, I mean, you have this, it's like you guys can just stay in the Stone Ages rather than,
Yeah, and
have access to electricity. And that's not fair for
that's
me to judge those people.
absolutely. I totally agree. Yeah.
Okay. But on the flip side, those of us who are in a more prosperous society where we have access to various kinds of energy, I think it's on us to try to make it as clean as we possibly can.
Yep.
And
Which is why their efforts to try to bring out from behind locked vaults what energy that we have learned. I'm getting a little off track here, pardon me, but what we've learned about technology that powers these devices we call unidentified aerial phenomena, UAPs.
Mhm.
There's some really interesting videos out there starting to appear now of that we have figured that out, but they don't want to bring it, to the forefront because it would disrupt the current monopolies of fossil fuels and things of that nature. So I mean, obviously we have to get, at some point we have to get beyond this fossil fuel based economy that we've had for the last several thousand years. We've got to move beyond that. And is technology maybe from somewhere else that has been around longer than we have, that way forward? I don't know. It's interesting. I don't necessarily believe it's real, but would I be surprised if they found stuff that they haven't told us about? I think it's possible.
Yeah. But anyways, the thing with nuclear, depending on where the stage it's at, I see all these different things about levelized cost of energy and all these things, what's cheaper. And at a certain point, the newer technology in nuclear will be cheaper than just about any other source, especially if fusion ever becomes real. But once again, when will that happen?
Probably not in my lifetime.
Yeah, I've spoken enough about.
So.
I see all the good news in fusion on a weekly basis, but it's the same thing. It's like, okay, that's great. Yep. It's great. You just got to make it happen 1,000 times more frequently.
Yeah,
and then we're talking.
And I always keep coming back to, why do we need a wrecking ball or a giant jackhammer to drive a nail? You've got, what is this? The surface of the sun is so many millions of degrees, and we want that plasma inside of that torrid, fusion reactor to be operating at magnitudes above that. To do what? Turn water to steam? Which happens at 212 degrees and 100 degrees Fahrenheit or Celsius,
Well, it depends on the type of reactor you're talking about. The newer stuff is getting rid of the water.
Well, yeah, but what are they doing with it? They're creating some form of hot air, right? And they're using that to spin turbine blades. And that hot air, okay, it could be, 300 or 400 degrees, but that's generally, I think, probably enough to drive a turbine. So I don't know, are there smarter ways to do that than having to have to deal with the temperatures of the sun? I'm still a little skeptical.
It's really funny because when you talk about some of the new high temperature gas reactors, they run at like 900 degrees Celsius. Okay, but when you're talking a fusion reaction, it's like 70,000 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, my point exactly. Yes.
Yeah, and when I see that, it's just like, well, how does everything not just melt?
Yeah, you have to have special alloys. Look at a turbine engine in a jet aircraft. Those gets to be significant temperatures in there, and the turbine blades have special ceramics or whatever they do. So we can conquer that thing. It's just, is that the smartest way forward?
I don't know. It's interesting to see, though.
Yeah,
a lot of people really want to see it happen. All right. Illinois legislature passed a historic bill ending decades-long ban on new nuclear plants, opens a door for advanced nuclear tech, including small modular reactors, signals a broader shift in U.S. energy policy, recognizing nuclear's role in decarbonization. Nuclear is the only thing that both parties seem to agree on.
Yeah.
And
again, I'm not opposed to it. I just think that there's other that we have to think very long and hard about its application and what
Well,
do you do with it afterwards? It's
getting rid of all the incentives for solar and then, driving up the tariffs on solar at the same time
yeah,
is not a good look.
no.
Um,
And solar has been the fastest growing new source of electrical power in the United States.
and the whole world.
Yeah,
Um, you know, Virginia has its elections going on, and that's like the number one topic is rising energy costs in
hmm,
Virginia. And it's really interesting because these people are at they have 100 different delegates in their house across the Commonwealth, and it's a challenge. When I went and met with Virginia politicians a couple of months ago, they all wanted to talk about energy and nuclear and what we could do, but it's interesting because you've got the Democrat politicians are all going to be talking about how Trump is ending um, solar and wind, and on the other side, they're trying to encourage more LNG and stuff like that.
right.
And I don't know. I think a lot of people, you're just not going to change their mind.
No,
And then
that's
it's frustrating. You and I are trying to educate people, but it's interesting because it's not easy to change somebody's mind when they hear one thing. And I get really sick of hearing all these things about how wind and solar are bad. It's like I'm not going to disagree that wind is ugly, okay, but I don't. I think it's
giant kinetic sculpture, is my view.
there. You go.
See those things just gently out there, turning around. I'm a little puzzled as to why bald. I guess apparently there were some bald eagles or one or two. I don't know if it was multiple or whether it was just a photograph of one eagle taken multiple times from different angles. I don't know the answer to that. But that it's not like they're a fan, right? That's just spinning so fast that the poor bird can't see it and flies into it. No, these things just spin with a slow grace that is, I like. I think now, would I want one out my backyard here? No. But would I mind having it on the hills half mile away? Probably. I wouldn't have a problem with it. But
Yeah, the birds just can't estimate, and it looks like it's moving so slow. They think they can dodge it, and then they get clubbed by it.
yeah, well,
I blame that on
it does
stupid
happen.
birds.
So I'm not going to say it
Yeah,
doesn't. But
but the thing is, there's one of the bridges over the Missouri River here in Omaha is known for just slaughtering birds, and I think it's birds flying at night fly into the damn thing and
yeah,
die.
yeah.
And I mean, birds fly into things. I mean, I have
Well,
birds fly
that.
into my windows all the time.
Oh yeah, yeah, and not only that, but then also it's the problem with bats are also there. Complaining about the fact that bats are running into, which is I find a little difficult because bats are flying at night and using their sonar and so.
Yeah. Well, anyways, all right. Microgrids are surging across the U.S. as big tech and utilities shore up power. U.S. microgrid capacity projected to hit 10 gigawatts by the end of the year, up from 4 gigawatts previously. Tech companies and utilities investing in localized power systems to ensure reliability. The microgrids are integrating battery storage and renewable generation for resilient, independent power. I'm working on a really big battery storage proposal
Okay.
here in the U.S. So it's interesting to see the interest in
Well,
that.
you may have a new source for those batteries because Stellantis is going ahead with building the battery factory in Canada.
Oh, nice.
But those batteries are going to be used for solar or for energy storage. They're
Mm-hmm.
not going to be used in EVs.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, to a certain degree, it almost makes more sense because you're making a much bigger battery. There's a lot of other technologies too now. I mean, you can do sodium ion, you can do lithium ion, you can do LFP. There's a lot of technologies you can
Yep.
do.
Yeah.
for those battery storage systems.
And then there's just simply hot bricks. Have you seen that one?
Yeah.
You know, where they take the heat and they just store that heat in the bricks, and then that gets released and apparently run back through some type of a turbine and generates power. So you've got that as well. There's all sorts of fascinating technology. There's one I saw where they're using, they can use microbes in the earth as sort of a fuel cell that you can generate. I just saw the headline and posted the story. I haven't had a chance to read it. But you could, those microbes help move electrons between a earth-buried cathode and an earth-buried anode and generates electric power. Now, how much of your backyard you need to have dedicated to that, I don't know, right? It's
I saw something a month or two ago that was talking about using building construction, like commercial buildings,
right,
and designing battery storage into the cement on the outside of the building.
Oh yeah. There's technology that turns cement into a type of battery. The innovation is great. You know, it's out there. We just need to make sure it's practical and, you know, expandable and sustainable, right?
I can just see it. Everybody in the building, though, that has that type of architecture, they walk around with their hair looking like Einstein.
Right. Yeah. They got all these little hair standing
hairs
on end.
standing on end. Yeah.
In fact, there's a guy, what is it, Professor Simon or something like, does a YouTube video on different science things. He's got that. He's had this white hair and it sticks. It's like he's in, what do they call those now, you know, the thing that
hey Bill, Owen's speaking your language here.
Mycelium batteries sound promising. Well, I don't know if it's mycelium or not, but yeah, why not? You know, the dang things are smart. They've even talked about building computers to run off of mycelium because the stuff is so intelligent, I guess. So yeah, it's fun to watch this stuff. It's exciting.
All right. The free excess renewable energy era is over. So grid operators no longer see curtailment of excess solar and wind as an acceptable option. Now, in California, during the day, there's so much solar produced, they can't store it all and they can't use it all.
Right.
And high efficiency, long duration energy storage is now essential for both climate goals and economic viability. The shift is from dumping the excess power to store and monetize is changing renewable economics fundamentally. I mean, the battery storage systems have really plummeted in cost. So that makes it a whole lot easier to keep things up. Well, the mycelium has a network of fibers like a nervous system.
Yes, exactly. That's how some plants communicate actually through that network underground. So yeah, it's fascinating. I mean, I have been running. Oh, if I take you over to my desk, I will show you my little mycelium setup over here. So that's an area that I've explored, and it's fun. It's interesting. It's really intriguing.
All right. So the global electric bus fleet surges 150%.
Yeah.
Europe and Latin America lead the growth. Now, buses aren't a huge thing here, at least not where we live. I mean, I see them, but I don't notice a lot of people riding them. They probably are. I probably just see them at the wrong times of day. But global e-bus deployment exceeds 700,000 units, with buses, China dominating and Europe registering 5,000 units. That was in 23. Latin America saw 100+% increase in electric bus fleet between 2020 and 2023. But 700,000 electric buses are running around the world. I see people when we've done stuff on buses, especially school buses, people always telling me about everything that's going to go wrong, with the buses. And it's like, do you think this is something new? Do you think electric buses haven't been around for a while?
No.
They've been trying electric buses since the 90s, right? So,
going back.
So we have almost 30 years of history of electric buses.
Mercedes has done a lot with that very early on.
Mhm. E-buses cut emissions, noise pollution, and operating costs while transforming urban mobility. It obviously works if,
700,000 of them.
100,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, this isn't like the pitiful number of hydrogen
Well,
vehicles
yeah,
running
and,
around.
and I guess you could think of companies that didn't quite make it, Proterra, and there's some others that explored that area and just never made it. But generally, was it Yunong or something like that? There's a big Chinese company. BYD, of course, is big into that area. So yeah, and there are other companies in Europe that are developing them.
Yeah, I
Never
mean,
seen a trolley.
trolley.
Never seen a trolley.
Yeah, well, you get all. It takes all kinds of people, right, to watch our videos and respond. It gets humorous sometimes. I was briefing Bill on some stuff we've been having for comments lately, and nothing really bad, but we've occasionally had some videos though where the comments just got really bad, to a point where I probably should have shut them off, but
But we'll just keep plugging away. Hopefully,
yeah,
we'll learn, and hopefully, we'll continue to grow.
yeah,
Based on reasonable comments.
yeah. Sometimes when we report about something that's going on, the numbers maybe in a country may be terribly insignificant. Okay, because we've commented before on a country where only one in like 2,000 people owned a car.
Right.
Okay, so how relevant is that really to the overall thing if they're banning gas cars, kind of thing?
Yeah.
Anyways,
Ethiopia being an example.
yeah. I keep having this little gnat land on my nose. It's probably trying to get my attention for
Probably
something.
trying to get your attention. Yes.
It wants me to go let it outside or something. Anyways, all right. I've got a story on electric aircraft breakthroughs, historic landings, and new manufacturing. A historic electric plane landed at Boeing Field, marking a milestone for passenger aviation.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what this may be.
No, it's I'm thinking I think it's Beta's aircraft.
Okay.
I have a hard time keeping these because some of them look really kind of alike. But I think it's the Beta aircraft that landed at Boeing Field.
Okay. I've got some here. Aura Aero opens first U.S. hybrid electric aircraft manufacturing facility in Daytona Beach, Florida. The University of Arkansas develops a smaller, lighter electric motors for aviation applications. Let's see here. Oh, what else we got? All right. So, and you had mentioned this a little bit. BYD predicts mass shutdown of Chinese car makers.
Yeah.
Fierce price wars and overcrowded market will lead to consolidation. Well, we're already talking about Tesla's dropped to number 7 in China.
Yep.
And
the up and comers are, obviously BYD's a big player there. Neo, Xpeng, and that's Geely. Who else? The Great Wall Manufacturing. There's that just names like 5 of the multiple companies that are out there in this space.
All right. Total Energies is a European company, loses in Paris court, marking a turning point for fossil fuel truth in advertising. A Paris court ruled against Total Energies for misleading climate claims in its advertising, marking a major precedent for fossil fuel accountability. The company falsely portrayed itself as aligned with climate goals while expanding oil and gas operations.
Yep.
Climate groups hailed the decision as a turning point for truth in environmental marketing, reinforcing legal pressure on greenwashing and corporate disinformation. I get videos all the time of from Exxon, talking about
I get them from Aramco.
Yeah. Oh, really? Yeah, but about what they're doing and stuff like that. And I know that like Exxon is trying to pump carbon into holes that have previously been
to enhance gas and oil extraction.
Yeah, maybe that's it. I don't know. but it's certainly a little bit, different. Anyways, did you have anything else you wanted to cover today, Bill?
I think that'll do it. I get to here in about an hour and a half or so. I get to meet with a gentleman called Eric Boyer, who is running for. He's a Democrat running for Congress in the first congressional district here in the state of Nebraska. He has a new EV. And we are going to ride around in his EV. I'm going to interview him about his experience, what his hopes and dreams are for, for the future of the state of Nebraska, and what his game plan is for dealing with renewable energies and promoting a more sustainable life and improving the good life here in Nebraska.
Now, that congressional district you mentioned, is that Omaha?
CD1, no. It's actually take from the Missouri River, go west to maybe like Columbus, draw a line down where it runs, down, includes, in fact, the only major urban area in CD1 is Lincoln, the capital.
Okay.
They took and at some point back in the history, they took and carved out Omaha and the surrounding area, including little sections of where I live here, as was CD2, which is Congressional District number 2. And then we have a third one, which is which basically everything from Grand Island west to the Panhandle is CD4, CD5, CD3, sorry. So we're going to talk about CD1, which is primarily rural. So it'll be interesting to get this perspective of he grew up in the CD1 area. I forget the name, but it's a town up near like Columbus and up in that area, small farm community. So he has a background in it. Interestingly, he at some point, I want to find out more about this. He was an actor in Hollywood and played on a number of different television shows before obviously coming back here and starting a renewable energy business. So it'll be an interesting interview, and we'll find out about what he thinks of it. It's a Jeep, Cherokee something or another.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Fun. It's not gerrymandering. I mean, to be fair, Omaha has different politics than the rest of the state.
Yeah.
And we have 3 Congress people?
We have 3 Congress people. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And we're one of the few states that can allow the Electoral College to be split.
Right. So Omaha is the famous blue dot. That's in the strawberry jam of Nebraska. They're the blue dot, and we want to keep it that way. But Owen, there is gerrymandering involved because this whole little funny kind of extension they ran out here that is like a block that way from me or 2 blocks from me, that used to be part of another district, and they wanted to give the guy that was running for that particular CD2, and they wanted to give him a little bit more voting power and, access to people that leaned more his way politically. So yeah, they gerrymandered it, but it's not like Texas or North Carolina or wherever.
Yeah. We live in Nebraska. Our congressional votes don't go very far, but it's still part of the country. And,
well, that's why we want to keep the blue dot, because otherwise we just become another rollover. We're a flyover state to begin with. We don't want to be a rollover state. So we got the blue dot movement here. You'll see it on the back of my Chevrolet Bolt, and you'll see it on the front door when you walk up to our house. There's a blue dot. So you know which way I lean. Oh, let's see. Left. This way.
Yeah. I don't know when I do it with my camera. Well, I'll go the other way, but it doesn't feel right. Anyways, all right. Anyways,
okay, guys.
Thanks
you very much
for watching to the end, and y'all have a great day. All right. Let's see.